This is the Sharp aquos sense9. It's one of those strange phones that basically doesn't exist in the international market, but I think they should be more prominent. Starting this off, this is a tiny phone, just saying. It's about the size of a base iPhone. Dare I say, it might be one of the best compact phones, save for the Galaxy S24 or the Pixel 9. Most mid-rangers though prefer to go for larger sizes like the Nothing Phone 2A with a 6.7-inch display. But this is 6.1 and it's really comfortable. You do have to realize that this phone is really lightweight. It's 166 grams and that's actually thanks to the full aluminium build of this phone. This also means no need to worry about cracking your back glass because the only glass on here is the screen and the cameras. Now this phone, it does have flat sides, but the way the edges are rounded means it doesn't feel jabby at all. So I guess you could say that this Sharp phone isn't sharp. No? I think it's nice to have a unibody aluminium design because the only other phone off the top of my head is the OnePlus Nord 4. Phones like this are proof that you don't need to compromise durability to, keep things light. It's also got this amazing combo of an easy to access SIM tray needing only a fingernail to just pop out. And you get SIM and microSD. Yeah, microSD expansion in 2024. So one thing that kind of sucks is that there's no dual physical SIM when you don't have the SD card in there. But you do get eSIM as a consolation. Weird thing though is that these speakers really aren't good. Like, I get it, it's a small phone. It's gonna have small phone speakers. But it's so soft that it's a lot softer than phones in its similar size bracket like the iPhone 16. However, it is still a really functional and decent speaker for casual phone calls and other media consumption. Now, this design isn't going to be for everybody. I've heard it described as asking a drunk salaryman to copy an iPhone 13. And I guess, yeah, I can see that happening. But personally, I really like this. Sharp calls this their Miyake design collaboration, and I think it's quite interesting. When I think of smartphone collaborations, it's usually when it comes to the camera. It's Hasselblad, it's Leica. But Miyake design is a very interesting one. Now, according to Sharp, this is a proprietary display type called Pro IGZO, which is short for indium gallium zinc oxide. I'm not gonna bore you with all the details, so let's take some top level stuff. It's a 6.1-inch 1080p 120Hz OLED display, and it gets bright. Like, pretty bright. It's very usable in daylight, but it can be overshadowed by the bright and hot Singaporean sun. Also, auto brightness is a little bit wonky, like it gets affected by everything, so just be careful where you put your hands. Now, performance has been shaky for me. Sure, the Snapdragon 7S Gen 2 benchmarks alongside the Nothing Phone 2A, but it does feel a little bit slower, a little bit worse. It's packing 8 gigs of RAM, so it's not too much, but also not too little. It would have been nice to see 12 gigs though. I've been playing a lot of games recently, and I haven't felt much of a performance difference. Like, yes, it gets a bit weird with dropped frames every once in a while, but it's about the same as the Nothing Phone. The 7S Gen 2 also powers the cameras, and here's what we're working with. Two 50-megapixel OmniVision sensors on the back, and a 32-megapixel up front for selfies. Solid specs across the board. The main camera is alright. It can snap some pretty nice pictures, and I do rate them well. Shutter speed isn't too slow even in mid-lighting situations. I was originally going to complain about the AI capture being the thing that bogged down the experience, but there was an update right after my first draft that just essentially fixed it. There are tons of improvements everywhere. Hell, there used to be this toast that popped up all the time telling me to stay still, and it pops up a lot less now, and the photos still come out pretty decent. Once again, it's a very functional camera, and I wouldn't always use this for creative photography 9 times out of 10, but it's entirely possible and usable for that. Video is also pretty decent. Once again, it's not the best, but it will do 4K 30p and pretty decently as well. It only ever falls apart when you get to poor lighting, just like any other phone camera. Let's move on to the ultra-wide camera now. It's a 15 megapixel sensor with autofocus, which is actually kind of clutch because it also means you get macro. And these macro shots, well, they're not half bad, they're actually pretty solid. None of that low effort 2 megapixel stuff here. But the plane of focus is super shallow, so it's really easy to miss the mark and end up with a blurry shot. But it's still nice to have that option in your back pocket. Okay, battery life is insane. And when I'm out and about, it drains a whole lot more because I'm using 5G and I'm connected to my Nothing Ear A. But when I'm at home, battery drops so slowly that it's actually kind of ridiculous. Just for today, I've been up since 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I've had 5.5 hours of screen on time and I'm still at 56%. It's 9 PM right now. And honestly, I'm quite impressed. This is a small phone, so I guess whatever they're doing with the battery, it's kind of similar to what ASUS has been doing with the Zen phones. Or at least when they used to make Zen phones. And when you need to eventually charge it, it's pretty fast. It goes from 5% to 52% in 30 minutes. Actually, using the 30-watt adapter that they also threw at me. So it's a good blend of speed and heat management. Now it's time for the special extras that Sharp has tossed in. Let's start with the launchers. Aquos Home is the default launcher and it's weird. Like, it's like the Pixel launcher, but worse. My biggest problem with it is that you can't sort the app drawer alphabetically, which basically every other launcher does. A quirk is that you can actually sort your apps into these folders, so they take up less space in your app drawer, but who decided that was a better alternative than just alphabetical scrolling? However, there are other launchers like Aquos Junior Home and Simple Home. It's basically the normal launcher, but with these buttons they can assign contacts to. You can assign these to parents, siblings, or even teachers, and it's pretty cool. The Simple Home is for those with motor issues or the elderly. Everything is big with massive touch targets and large fonts. They also have a bunch of extra stuff inside the Aquos Tricks section of the settings app. My favorite of these is actually Pay Trigger. It makes it so that you can keep your finger on the fingerprint sensor and quickly open the wallet app of your choice. I'll link a more in-depth video where all the features are explored up in the cards. I'd suggest checking it out. Maybe it was the software update that fixed all my woes, and maybe it's just user error, but hell, this thing is actually pretty decent for the price. It's about 68,000 Japanese yen or 599 Singapore dollars. Low-key, it's not that bad of a deal. Even though the 2A is cheaper and probably more stable, it's still not a bad deal. So if you want to check it out, I'll leave the links down in the description. It's fun to check out. It's a very, very fun phone. But there's not much else from me today, so I'll see you guys next time. Have fun.